And that's kind of how you learn these concepts in a more efficient way, as you're taking away all the fluff and you're getting into the nitty-gritty. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Sharday. I create content that has to do with nursing, lifestyle, and my level up journey. So if that interests you, make sure that you subscribe, like this video, and leave me a comment if anything catches your eye or if you have any suggestions for any further videos. And if you're returning, hi love, welcome back. So you guys, I am a full-time employee. I don't know if you guys know that. I'm a full-time employee and I'm a full-time nursing student. Now, with that information, my schedule is a lot different than those who do not work or who are working part-time. My study style is a lot different from those who do not work and who only work part-time. My time is very limited. My time is very important and precious, and some days it really does come down to the hour or the 2 hours that I may have to bust out some homework, do some stuff, whatever. Okay, so last semester, my first semester of nursing school, that was kind of like a shock to me, right? Because I'm like, okay, like I've taken so many classes, and to me, nursing school wasn't at all what I thought it would be as far as the learning style and as far as taking the exams. My first semester, I thought that I just had to like memorize this stuff, and when your instructor tells you like, hey, you know, this stuff is not really something that you can memorize because it's a lot of information, I'm like, yeah, okay, like girl, I got this. Like I've been doing this for a long time. Like I came in kind of like thinking that I knew what I was doing. And so I spent a lot of time making my material, and the first exam I did really well, but that material was like light. It wasn't really like the hot and heavy stuff. So I'm like, okay, like I think I got this. I think I got it down. The following exam was way harder. I was studying a whole bunch of stuff that didn't even matter really. And so I want to really get into some of the tips that you guys really need to pay attention to when you're studying, especially if you have less time to study and to do your work than other people. Because mind you, you still have to do your homework, you still have to take your notes, you still have to be at lecture, you still have to do labs, you still have to do clinicals, you still have all that other stuff in there. And so you really want to make sure that you're making the best use of your time while you're in nursing school. So as far as my process goes, you really want to know what are the main chapters that you're going to discuss, right? Because you do get your syllabus prior to the semester starting, or when it's just starting. That's when you really need to go through everything, okay? Planning is essential. You know that saying, when you fail to plan, you plan to fail? That saying is like 100% true when it comes to nursing school. So what you really want to do is, I mean, for me personally, I have a whiteboard, I have my phone stuff put in, you know, and then we use this, what is called Canvas, where it has all of our assignments in it. I have a calendar in there, I was putting stuff in there, and I also have my regular weekly, monthly planner. I recommend getting a monthly, weekly planner, because that way you can have like your overview of the month. You can kind of see what's coming up, always have that in your mind. And then you have your day-to-day tasks that, you know, are important to do. Concepts are such a huge part of nursing school. It really doesn't come down to some certain things specifically, like certain things that you need to know, like, right, like a cardiac infarction or a stroke. You need to know what those things are, right? Because it's so common, and that's what you're going to get a lot of. Typically in nursing, you're going to get a lot of cardiac patients, you're going to get a lot of pulmonary issues, you're going to get a lot of those kind of things. But when it comes to studying this information and studying what kind of nursing implementations that you'll do for those things, you really want to narrow it down to concepts over everything. When you have a bunch of terms, it's good to kind of know, like, go over the terms and kind of know a generalized idea of what the terms mean. Also, I believe that medical terminology, I took medical terminology like a couple semesters ago. I believe that it really helped me, because that way I don't necessarily have to like look up that word. I understand certain Latin words that go with that term to where I can kind of make an educated guess as well. Become familiar with the prefixes, suffixes, and what's the last of them? Whatever it's called, but just be familiar with it, so that way when you're going through and you're trying to understand these concepts, you can kind of put two and two together without doing the most with knowing the full-blown terminology for it. So a really important thing that you really want to keep in mind when you're studying is, what is the priority for this patient? You guys, I cannot stress this enough. In nursing school, it's all about prioritizing. It's all about prioritizing, right? What also about safety? So safety is a big one. And as I was searching, you know, what's going to be on the Nclex, what is like a big thing that they really want you to know, excuse me, it is going to be about keeping your patient as safe as possible, right? On your end, keeping your patient safe from themselves, you know, keeping your patient safe from falling, keeping your patient, so everything about the nursing process, such as assessment, such as your implementation, what are you going to educate the patient on, is always going to relate back to safety in some way, shape, or form. So let me give you an example. So let's say that you have a medication, right? And one of the common side effects is orthostatic hypotension, which means that their blood pressure drops drastically. So your assessment, you're going to assess this patient's blood pressure, of course, because if you're giving a med that's going to lower their blood pressure, you want to make sure that it's not too low before you give the medication, because then you can be going into dangerous territory. Now, as far as educating your patient, you want to make sure that you educate your patient in saying, hey, when you get up, you know, take your time in getting up, so that way your body can be back in homeostasis state before you get up and doing a whole bunch of stuff and you fall and hurt yourself because you're dizzy, because your blood pressure dropped or whatever. You really want to educate your patient on that. Also, or even driving, right? If this medication is going to make them drowsy, you want them to be on this medication for a little while before they start operating heavy machinery, because this medication can potentially be dangerous to their everyday life. So that's how you kind of prioritize, and that's how you really make safety your main concern, and that's how you kind of tie it all together. When you start to learn about ADPI in your first semester of nursing school, you know, your assessment, your diagnosis, your planning, your implementation, and your evaluation, you are literally going to take that and add it into every single scenario, pretty much, right? So when I'm gonna go, take this into meds, like I just gave you an example. Not only will your diagnosis have some type of ADPI-ness to it, your medications will as well. So when you start to break that down, instead of learning, okay, this medication causes drowsiness, this medication causes dry mouth, this medication causes itchy eyes, this medication causes this, that, and the third, it's going to be literally impossible for you to memorize literally every side effect with every single medication. No, go through and see what medication is going to, what is the most dangerous part of this medication, right? Even if it's rare, what is the most dangerous part of this medication? What is the most dangerous contraindication about this medication? Like, let's say the patient is pregnant and this medication causes birth defects. Of course, that as a nurse, that's something that should ring a bell in your head when you see it and when you're evaluating your patient. And then also, whatever that you have to assess, whatever that's contraindicated, whatever diet that they have to be on, whatever that's going to be your education teaching point for that patient. And that's kind of how you learn these meds, and that's kind of how you learn these concepts in a more efficient way, as you're taking away all the fluff and you're getting into the nitty gritty. What is a priority for this? What is the safety concern for this? What do I need to do in this kind of situation? If that makes sense. I know it's kind of lengthy to explain, but I really had to break it down, give you guys examples, and kind of show you how it all really ties together, because they do tell you that each nursing semester, it builds upon itself, and it is very true. Block 1 can be very confusing because you're like, okay, wait, I don't understand this, and it can be really hard to start thinking like a nurse. But that is what they mean by thinking like a nurse. What is dangerous to your patient? What should you be teaching your patient? What is something that you should keep an eye out for? You know, how do you assess this patient? And things like that. Now, I also want to stress the process of elimination, you guys. Eliminate the question or the answers that just, you know, are not right? And when it comes down to those last two, if you get to those last two, like I said, prioritize safety, things of that nature. Now, when it comes to how to communicate to your patient, I know that therapeutic communication is such a big one. You really want to make sure that you're eliminating your opinions. You really want to make sure that you're eliminating anything that the patient can run and take with them and potentially not be, for their plan not to be all the way therapeutic to the best of its ability. You really want to make sure that, you know, you stick to the facts. You stick to the facts, but you're also nice at the same time. So stick to the facts, but be nice at the same time. Don't just be nice and say things that you think that your patient wants to hear or that you think that you would want to hear in real life. Stick to the facts. You owe that person the facts, but you owe it in a therapeutic kind of way. And that's kind of how you kind of start to really start thinking like a nurse. You really want to stress the importance of keeping your patient safe, the importance of them knowing what's going on with their care, the importance of sticking to the facts, being therapeutic. And you should do a lot better on those kinds of questions, because those kinds of questions you really used to kick my ass, y'all. I'm a healthcare worker, okay? I work in healthcare. So certain things that you hear on a day-to-day basis, it's totally different from Nclex style. Like, real life is different from Nclex style. So don't go in there thinking that, you know, since you work in healthcare, you're gonna know exactly what to say, exactly what to do, you have experience, whatever. No, Nclex style is completely tailored towards safety, completely tailored towards therapeutic communication, completely tailored towards all of that kind of stuff, prioritizing, you know, all of that. So let's get into some tools that I use. Now, I want to feature Picmonic, and I will definitely leave like a screen display of how to use it. I actually have been using Picmonic for a while. The books that my program uses, we use Lippincott resources, and we use the Enhance, Plus Point, blah, 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 very expensive resources. And it comes with the book, it comes with assignments, it comes with virtual simulations, it comes with prep you questions, it comes also with Picmonics to go with each chapter. So what Picmonic is, it is a resource, but it's really meant for kinesthetic and visual learners. And they use things like kind of silly things, but they're silly in a way that you remember, right? Certain things like my teacher was telling us for serotonin syndrome, you know, the symptoms are gonna be shits and shivers, okay? It's kind of like that. And so another example, when I was learning about trazodone, also known as trazobone, there was a broken wiener on the screen because it can cause like erectile dysfunction in men. And so that's something that I'll remember, is that broken hot dog wiener when I was learning the information. And I'll probably show you guys that one for that one. But, you know, trazodone, trazobone, broken wiener. You see how it's just certain stuff that you start to really take with you because it's so silly. It's so different than what you're used to, that is certain stuff that sticks with you versus just memorizing, going through a list of symptoms, going through a list of contraindications, going through a list of that, you know, because that kind of gets redundant after a while, because it really is memorization for the most part. But when you look at things, you memorize it, you're learning about it in class, you're writing it down, and then you go to Picmonic and now you get your visuals, now you get the little silly characters with it, and the information really does start to stick. So if you guys are interested, I will leave some information about Picmonic below. Make sure that you're trying different tools and resources to give you the best possible outcome with your program. Like, we're trying to get it by any means. Like, do what you have to do, okay? Now, some other resources that I will recommend are, now, I want to, disclaimer, you do not have to get really any physical copy of books whatsoever, because honestly, I'm kind of getting annoyed by how many books I have everywhere. I have books for leisure, I have books for previous classes, I have books for my current classes, and it does get a little irritating, especially when you live in an apartment and your storage space is limited. So keep that in mind, because all of these resources that I'm going to show you today are available online. So keep that in mind. And it's also nice to be able to pull things up on your phone, on the go, when you're at work, on break, do a little Picmonic, do a little drug guide, go back in. Like, mind you, this is for the working, hustling and bustling nursing student, okay, how to study. Now, I like to have a drug guide when learning about these medications, and I will tell you why. Not necessarily for the big old list of stuff that is in here, information galore, okay? It's not necessarily for that reason. The reason why I love this is because of the classifications, I should say, okay? Now, pro tip, learn your classifications before anything. I'll tell you why. So something like, let's see, MAO inhibitor, right, for medication. We just learned that one because I am in psych nursing right now, which it means monoamine oxidase inhibitor, okay? It's a type of antidepressant. Now, this is the classification, MAO inhibitor, right? That's the classification. I know for that classification that they cannot have tyramine foods, which include pickles, pickled stuff, salami, certain cheeses, chocolate, all of that stuff, right? Because it can cause a very bad reaction, okay? I know that for a fact. Now, since I know the general information about this classification, I can apply that information to this drug, that drug, that drug, that drug, that drug. So you can really learn like 5 to 6 drugs just off of, if they're all categorized in one classification, you've learned 6 drugs, because you know the common action to it, right? What does it do? What is it for? Okay, depression, whatever. You've learned contraindications. Okay, the diet is a major one for that one. Okay, period. Okay, and now your education would be what? Don't eat these foods. That's your education. Your education and contraindications and all the side effects and all that stuff go together. So I've learned 5 drugs just off of knowing what the classification of that drug is, because these drugs have similar chemical compositions to them, so therefore they're going to have similar actions on the body. Now, there may be some here and there that had their own little extraness to them, and that's a lot easier to remember. Okay, let's say this drug has this extra side effect. Okay, great. There's one side effect extra that I have to learn about one specific drug. That is a lot easier than memorizing all of this stuff about one drug, okay? So that is a very big pro tip. Now let's move on to the next tip. Questions. Do your questions, okay? Do your questions. If there's anything that you spend time on when you're short on time, you know, let's say that you're not getting graded on your notes. Let's say that you're not getting graded on certain things, or let's say that it's not as important. You know, always make sure that you are doing your clinical stuff, are doing all the stuff that's necessary, but cut back time on the things that you can cut time on and really hone in on questions, okay? At the end of the day, you're going to get your license because you know how to answer these questions. That's just at the end of the day, okay? So I recommend doing questions every single week. And so some Saturdays and Sundays, I'm doing like questions for 3 hours a day, right? Or a half an hour on a weekday or whatever. I'm doing questions every single week. Best practice is to do questions every day, but of course I work, I'm tired, I got other stuff to do. I gotta wash the dishes eventually at some point in time. I gotta do, you know, I gotta work out at some point in time. So, you know, when you look at, and this is no shade to anybody else whatsoever, but when you look at other people studying techniques and they have these gorgeous notes, y'all, these gorgeous notes, all of these resources, all of these tips, all of this whatever on how to get an A and all this other stuff, right? B's get degrees, C's get degrees. So that's just also not a pro tip, but a reminder that you are no less adequate than any other student that are getting straight A's. You are not doing anything wrong per se. There may be some things that you may want to tweak or whatever, but your personal goals are your personal goals, and you should definitely be happy and grateful for the B's and C's, y'all. Just keep moving forward and stay in your program. That is all that matters. Of course, you know, strive for your own personal goals, but I just want to encourage whoever is watching this, that do your best. If it's your best, it is the absolute best, and you should be proud of it, okay? Now, moving on. Do these questions, and do not forget to read the rationales. Now, this book I got off of Amazon. It is a comprehensive review for Nclex RN Reviews and Rationale series. It's great, it's wonderful, because it has everything in it that the Nclex will have. So whenever we're going through something in class, in preparation for that exam, I'll peel through this and do some questions, and I'll read the rationales for it. So that way I have an idea of what is to be expected for that type of content, if that makes sense. So cardiacs, psychiatric nursing, because psychiatric nursing, there's a lot of therapeutic communication. If you answer questions differently, you know, because these patients may have schizophrenia, they may have depression, they may have anxiety, they may have ADHD, they may have, you know, all of these disorders, and you have to know how to properly answer them as a nurse, appropriately, therapeutically, and, you know, effectively for the best possible outcomes, right? So I definitely like to go through this. And me personally, you guys, I like to have a little bit of online and physical textbook. I don't know why, because I'm definitely like a hands-on kind of learner. So something about like really focusing in on flipping through the pages, because sometimes just scrolling, my mind kind of wanders off, but I'm still scrolling and looking and I'm not really learning. So sometimes this really hones me in, right? Because I can't look at the fall boot tab that I have over here, or the Fashion Nova tab that I have over there, and then go look at my cart real quick. You know, it's just easy to get distracted sometimes. So yes, questions, you guys. Do your questions, but most importantly, read why the answer was not the other answers. Read why, because those whys are applied all throughout school. So yes, read your questions, okay? So you guys, as far as notes, I definitely want to do a separate video, because I do feel like this video is getting a little bit lengthy. I do want to do a separate video on notes. I do use OneNote. I love it. One of my classmates actually showed me how to transfer the PowerPoints that our instructors give us and transfer it into OneNote and kind of tweak it like that. So I definitely want to show you guys how to do that. But I will say, when you are studying for the exam and you know how you have some book readings. Now, every program is different, you guys. Some programs may get all their information from the text. Some programs may do like a PowerPoint and pick and choose what they want from the text, right? Make sure that you're prioritizing the information that your instructor is giving you. Do not go all off on a tangent on something completely extraness, right? Do not stress yourself out with extraness. I like to keep things real simple. I like to keep things in a way that I can remember and apply it to the next semester, because first of all, I don't know why I thought that fluid and electrolytes was done for first semester, because that was very traumatizing, but it's coming back med-surg very, very soon, mid-October, and I'm like, anxiety, okay. Definitely should have really, but back then, you guys, I really didn't know what I was doing. Now I kind of know what I'm doing, but now it's kind of like, I don't really have time to learn all of these electrolytes and minerals all over again, like, ugh. But anyways, I will say, focus on the lecture. Do not, reading the book is great. I've been reading my pages and doing my questions, and it's been really helping me understand the concepts as a whole, because the more you do things, the more you remember. But I will say that I study, like my memorization, my going over it repetitively will be PowerPoint. Always focus on the PowerPoint, because that is what your exam is going to be tailored towards. So make sure you're getting the most use out of your time. Even if they give you a study guide, okay? Even if they give you a study guide, do not make that study guide your holy grail. You better go back to that PowerPoint and go through it and make sure that you're remembering the stuff on the PowerPoint, because I guarantee you, that's gonna be the difference between you getting a higher grade and just getting something that's average and just gonna get you through. Now that's, you know, just kind of depends on your time crunch, your time frame, whatever, but it definitely helps. So you guys, if you like this video, I hope I gave you some really good tips, some really time efficient tips for your nursing school journey. These tips have really helped me during my journey. My studying style is a lot less stressful. I have more time. That's the whole point. I knocked all this stuff out, and now I have at least 4 to 5 days to study for the exam, to really hone in on it, because I've done my notes. I have all the stuff. I have all the everything. I've cut down on all that extra stuff with the meds. I got it down to the classifications. Boom, boom, boom. It's in my notes. I'm ready to study. So definitely it cuts down your time and makes your time more efficient, and you understand the concepts a lot better, because you're not so worried about the minute details of everything else, okay? Nursing school is really honing in on what you need to know. Hone in on it. Think about, what do I need to know? What is priority? What is priority? What is priority? And that'll cut down a lot of stress, a lot of anxiety. You'll still have anxiety, trust me, but it'll cut down like the overload of information that you have, so that way you can take it into the next topic, you can take it into the next semester, you can take it into, because it's ingrained in you, because it's simplified, first of all, and because you had more time to study it, okay? So thank you. My name is Sharday. If you guys have any questions, make sure that you leave them down below. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Be blessed. Stay up. Take care of yourself, okay? One thing that I'm doing differently this semester, I'm actually having fun here and there. You know, go out for a margarita, have a little drink, read a book, take a bath, go for a swim, go for a ride, go out of town real quick. Like, make sure you have your responsibilities taken care of, but most importantly, do not forget that you are a human being. Do not forget that this is a process and you need to enjoy it, and this is a journey, and you need to make sure that you squeeze in that time for yourself, squeeze in that time for your family, and just enjoy life, guys. So I'll see you guys later. Take care.
Sunlight that always stays, dinner by the waterway. It's that sweet life. Raise your cross. Made some dude crack a smile. He asked if I could stay a while.